the testimonies of victims and eyewitnesses in eastern Ghouta reveal clearly that the sarin gas was used by the armed opposition. Al-Brahimi says the international law prohibits any military intervention without a decision taken by the UN Security Council. Russia and Iran emphasize that using force against Syria will lead to great instability in the whole region. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Yarado Krikorian with the news in English. In reply to the attempt of pinning the charge of using chemical weapons on the Syrian Arab Army, member of the UN Investigation Committee into Human Rights Violations, Carla Del Ponte, said the testimonies of the witnesses and the harmed in eastern Ghouta clearly indicate that the sarin gas was used by the opposition's armed men.
During our investigation for crimes against humanity and war crimes, we collect some witness testimony that made to appear that some chemical weapons were used, in particular nervine gas, and what appeared to our investigation that was used by the opponents, by the rebels, and we have no indication at all that the government, the authority of the Syria government, have used chemical weapons. Of course, now the special commission that the Secretary General put in place will investigate and tell us what it is exactly. But I was a little bit stupefied that the first indication we got, they were about the use of nervine gas by the opponent.
The UN envoy to Syria, Mr. Al-Akhdar al-Brahimi, has said any military intervention in Syria would complicate the situation. Therefore, a political solution is the only way out of the crisis. Al-Brahimi affirmed that the international law is clear, namely that no military intervention is allowed without a UN Security Council's decision. We are waiting for the international team's investigation, and we haven't been briefed yet on the evidence the Americans have about the alleged use of chemical weapons, Al-Brahimi added. In a telephone call with the UN envoy to Syria, Al-Akhdar al-Brahimi, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has warned that resorting to force to solve the crisis in Syria would shake up the situation there and in the region as a whole. The Russian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that Lavrov and Al-Brahimi agreed on the need for all parties, including foreign players, to work openly and candidly without repeating previous mistakes. In a similar telephone call with his American counterpart, John Kerry, Minister Lavrov expressed his country's rejection of the American accusation of Syria of using chemical weapons. The Russian Foreign Ministry said Lavrov voiced concern over the deliberate tendency by some countries to foil the attempts to solve the crisis in Syria through political means. He stressed Russia's support for exchanging information on any probable incidents of chemical use in Syria through experts. Lavrov stressed the need of rendering maximum support for the work of the group of experts in Syria, recalling that the mechanism of such work has been coordinated between Syria and the UN. The Russian and American ministers concluded their telephone call, stressing the need to support contacts between the two sides on the situation in Syria. head of the Russian Duma Council, Sergei Narishkin, stressed that any military operation against Syria will increase tension in the whole region and damage the role of the UN and its institutions. Narishkin pointed out that the situation is highly tense and complicated, adding that he is quite sure that a military operation will not solve anything but will make things more complicated and create more victims in its aftermath. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has called for a diplomatic solution to the crisis in Syria. He underlined the need to give the UN investigation team into the use of chemical weapons enough time to reveal the facts. The team is now on the ground there to do so, and they need time to perform their task, Moon asserted. He called on the UN Security Council to move for the sake of peace. We have reached the most dangerous time of this conflict, he warned. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif called on the UN to have a role in reaching a political solution for the crisis in Syria, expressing deep regret that some regional countries have called during the conversation for resorting to a military option. In a TV interview, Zarif said that a very bad and dangerous trap is being set up for the US president in the region. If he fell in it, then a very bad memory will be stuck in the minds over his presidential term. The Iranian minister underlined the role of the UN in finding a political solution for the crisis in Syria. Minister Zarif revealed that he warned the assistant of the UN Secretary General, Jeffrey Feltman, during his visit to Tehran against any foreign intervention that would inflame the whole region. For his part, Iranian Shura Council Speaker Ali Larijani condemned the American Zionist Western plan against Syria, which is aimed to impose hegemony on the region. Larijani warned the West of the consequences of launching any military action against Syria. He said that if the West and the US carried out the planned military action against Syria, then they will not be the ones who end the war, stressing that any Western attack on Syria would be like walking on a landmine. Larijani also warned that if this aggression is carried out, then the West and the US need to worry about their illegitimate child in the region, referring to Israel. The new Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, warned of the consequences of the US Western imperialist aggression on Syria, calling for global solidarity with his country. President Maduro warned that the attack on Syria may be the beginning of a large international confrontation and the beginning of a devastating war. We defend peace in Syria and plead for the peaceful means to exclude the terrorist war against it, Maduro said. Maduro also pointed out that the US imperialism and its agents have provided the terrorists with weapons and brought mercenaries from around the world to destroy Syria, and today they want to attack this country under the pretext of chemical weapons. Within the same context, Venezuelan parties and organizations confirmed their solidarity with Syria, calling for a demonstration rejecting the attack on Syria to be held in front of the US Embassy in Caracas on Thursday. In response to a misleading campaign about an imminent aggression on Syria, including rumors about evacuating Russian citizens from Syria, a source at the Russian embassy in Damascus stressed that the situation is quite normal for the Russian diplomatic mission, pointing out that no evacuation operations have been made as security measures are tightened around the embassy building. Armenian Foreign Ministry announced that work at its embassy in Damascus is running quite normal. Media consultant Tehran Palayan said that Armenian embassy in Damascus and the consulate in Aleppo will continue work as normal, and no discussion has been made about closing any diplomatic institution in Syria. Welcome back. An official source said that dozens of terrorists were killed following the explosion of a missile they were trying to launch from one of their dens in the village of Ain Hussein. The source added that the missile killed all the terrorists near it. Our armed forces eliminated scores of gunmen who belonged to so-called Tawhid Brigade in Homs. Army units killed dozens of terrorists and wounded others in the village of Al-Ghasbin and destroyed tents for them in the village of Kisin in Talkalakh. Another army unit eliminated a terrorist group east of Al-Umari Mosque in Al-Rastan, including Yasser Werde, a terrorist leader in Al-Husn town. In the city of Homs, army units targeted terrorists north of Al-Jaafari Mosque in Babhoud neighborhood, destroying their ammunition. Finally, in Damascus countryside, army units achieved big progress in chasing terrorists in Sbaina town and assumed full control on one section of Al-Sharqatli area, killing dozens of terrorists. The army also destroyed weapons and ammunition east of Tishreen Hospital in Barza area. Our army units also targeted terrorists in Zamalka and Arbin, killing and wounding scores of terrorists. Army units confiscated weapons, including 15 mines and a number of explosive devices in Harasta. Army units destroyed a warehouse for ammunition in Al-Ab farms, killing all the members of the group, as they also destroyed one heavy machine gun in Al-Hijra town. In Daraya and Al-Mu'addamiyya, army units eliminated a leader of an armed terrorist group and killed the members of his group. They also destroyed heavy machine guns and mortar guns in the town of An-Nabak. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Vani Gunjan, but after a short break.
Good afternoon. The Cabinet issued a decree that demands the exporters to pledge for installing the dedicated currencies in the banks that are licensed to deal in foreign currencies. The decree also demands the customs to refrain from exporting and to deal with the foreign currencies according to many choices, like funding the export process or to sell the foreign currencies to the licensed banks. Minister of Economy and Foreign Trade has explained the instructions of the local consumption for all imported goods and commodities from June and July, which were not licensed by the ministry, with a rate of 5% of the estimated value by the customs in the Syrian pound. The General Establishment of Sugar asserted that it has been transferred the value of the sugar beet for the last season, which was estimated at 680 million Syrian pounds. The establishment also added that the production plan includes producing 1,307 tons of sugar beet, while the expected production quantities were estimated at 321,000 tons. Brent crude prices advanced 2.4% to a 6-month high of $117 a barrel, extending Tuesday's 3.3% surge, the biggest one-day percentage gain in nearly 10 months. European stocks dropped to an almost 6-week low. U.S. equity index futures were little changed, while Asian shares fell. Gold climbed 0.8% to a more than 3-month high, after also gaining 0.8% yesterday. Gold for immediate delivery climbed 1.3% to reach $1,433 an ounce, the highest since May 14th. Nikkei share average declined 2.6% to a 2-month low, while the yen was largely steady at 97.120 to the US dollar, after climbing more than 1% overnight. With this, we conclude our news. Thank you for watching and goodbye.